Hey everyone, my name is Tina Hogan Grant, award-winning author of 15 books, and I am doing my Cuppa A Natter that I like to do twice a month on a Monday. I like to bring authors into my home, and we talk about writing, life as an author, and whatever comes to mind. And tonight, Susy Smith is joining me. How are you this evening?
Very well, thank you. I appreciate you having me.
I am excited to talk to you, but before we get started, I do want to read your bio. It's an impressive bio. And just to give a
Okay.
little introduction to you. So, this is what I have about this is a really nice bio. Susy Smith is a celebrated dystopian storyteller, author, and curriculum specialist for the Kanza Tribe in Oklahoma. Armed with a deep understanding of language, the resilience of the human spirit, and a bachelor's degree in English, she weaves captivating, award winning stories that leave readers wanting more. Smith's literary journey commenced with Asylum, a gripping novel that clinched the 2020 Writers' Contest in the novel category. Congratulations to that, by the way. She continues to engage audiences with Ascendant, the second installment in the Asylum series, further probing the intricacies of survival, freedom, and the dark side of human nature. In addition to her novels, Smith occasionally crafts poetry, adding a unique dimension to her diverse repertoire. Her authentic writing style echoes her experience living in a small Oklahoma town with a husband, four grown children, and two furry dog children. Our dogs are our kids. I gotta agree with that one.
Yes, they are.
That's an
Yep,
impressive
they
bio.
sure are.
Um, right?
Thank you.
Can you just give a little background to you?
I didn't write it, so
As
do
I'm
it.
sorry, I'm sorry.
I just didn't. I didn't catch what you said. I'm sorry.
No, I said I agree. Our dogs are our children because you have two
Yes,
of them. Can
I
you just give
do.
a little background to you? Where are you from?
I am from Oklahoma. I was actually born in Southern California, but my parents moved back from to Oklahoma, where they were originally from. And I was raised in small town Oklahoma, Kaw City, right by a lake. So it was
It's
idyllic.
it sounds
I mean, a kid in the 80s, Uh, we went outside and played till it got dark and didn't come home till the street lights came on or you heard your mother's whistle clear across town.
that is what I call the good old days. And
Yes.
I have two grandkids. One is almost 13, the other is 8. And I look at them and it's like they have no freedom. They have no freedom. They live in this little bubble. And my son gets frustrated because I'm up in the mountains. I'm about 2 hours from him. And he'll bring his sons up here so they can play.
Yeah.
Because where they're at in the city, he can't take his eye off them for 5 minutes. It's a different world that we live in. And
Definitely.
I am so grateful that we were able to experience the 70s, the 80s, and the 60s.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah, I really
Definitely.
do. I really do. But I do want to, we have a few people joining us, so I do want to pop them up on the screen. They're saying hello to us. So we have Darlene. She says hello, Tina and Susie.
Hello.
And then this person is in the group. My group is private, so I can't see your name, but hello. Then we have Karen. She says hello. And this is Lulu, my editor. Hi, Lulu. Good to see you. And then we have Tina. And Lori is here. And Barbara is here from Florida.
That's awesome.
And we have Elaine. And Elaine says she's got my copy and ready for this live.
Good.
And then we have, I believe this is Jeff Shaw. He
Mhm.
says hello. So if you, excuse me, sorry. Again, if you're just coming on, I am talking to Susy Smith. If you have any questions for Susy, go ahead and put them in the comments, and I will get to them as soon as I can. So, Susy, let's get to your books. You are a dystopian author. My first question is, why did you decide to write dystopian?
I didn't.
I like that answer. Okay.
I mean, it should have been a no-brainer. One of my favorite books growing up was A Wrinkle in Time, and I followed Madeline. I read everything she had. Um, So, and I love Star Wars, and I just, just kind of followed the science fiction stuff. So, I guess that should have been a no-brainer for me, but I wanted to write romance. And so,
Little off track there.
well, just a little. So, yeah.
And now, right now, you have, how many books have you written?
2. I have just finished my 3rd one. It's going through the editing process right now. My editing process.
Right. So. Well, congratulations. And the first book, okay, the series is called the Asylum series. Mm-hmm. And book 1 is the Asylum, correct? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Can you just give us a little background to the book without giving too much away? And while you are talking, I'm going to be listening, but I want to bring your cover up on my iPad so I can show the audience your gorgeous covers. So go ahead and give our readers a little background on Asylum while I bring that up.
Okay. Asylum begins when the United States has suffered a big crash. I know similar books do the electronic thing where everybody loses power and stuff like that. I just went with an economic meltdown just because for me it just seemed more realistic. Anyway, and so martial law is declared, and so the government is tightening its control over its people, putting them into work camps. And so my main character, Lacey, she stays on a family farm while her parents, her family leaves. They flee. They go off to California, or they're trying to get there. And she stays behind. And this book tells about everything that she went through, everything she suffered an assault, an attack. She gathered other people. It's got found family, strong found family trope ties in it. And then she also, her brother's best friend comes and stays with her, and they do have a little romance going there. I did get the romance in there, so I snuck it in there. But so it takes us through the first part of that, and how her uncle is wanting to. He's a U.S. senator, and he wants to set everything straight. So he's got political ambitions, and he involves my main character, Lacey, and Jace, the male main character. He involves them and manipulates them, and it just goes from there. I don't want to say too much else.
No, don't give too much away, but it sounds really intriguing. Can I add, number 1, what inspired this book?
I actually got the idea for this book back. It probably started percolating when 9/11 happened, because our world drastically changed. America, as a people, our lives changed, whether we realized it or not. It did. And so I started asking myself, well, what if this? What if that? It just began with a series of what if questions. And then, I looked at my kids. I have 2 millennials. I've raised 2 millennials and 2 Gen Zs. And so I looked at them and I was like, do they even know how to plant a garden? Would they know how to, fish? My oldest daughter fishes and stuff like that. I think they could probably get by like that, but they don't know how to make a fish trap. They don't know how to build a fish trap or set a snare, or, some of the basic things that as a kid, we were talking about the 80s and the 70s and how much things have changed since then. And I played outside all the time. The setting of the book is actually a real location. It is a real 40-acre plot of land in Osage County, Oklahoma, where I spent a lot of my summers. I just spent a lot of time there. And we had a big garden. I know how to butcher a cow. I know what goes into it. I know, most millennials and, on down probably don't know how to do that. I'm talking about in general.
Yeah, and it's one of the general things for survival. It really
Right.
is. And you say about you learn when you grew up about
Mhm.
gardening and all that. And I was the same way. My grandmother, we used to go to her house, and she gave me and my sisters a patch of her backyard, and we could grow whatever we want in there. I chose to grow vegetables because I like vegetables, and I always have.
Mhm.
And one of my sisters grew like sunflowers, and another year she grew roses. But it was our patch, and we had to
Right.
tend to it. And if it died, we had to learn what we did wrong so it wouldn't
Yeah.
die next time. And
Right.
we went to our grandmother's every weekend, so we had to nurture those flowers.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Yep. They just, so I mean, the idea just came from that line of thinking and wondering. So if I put a millennial uh, in that type of situation, what would she do? How would she act? How would she react? Um, and so that's what basically my main character. She's young. She, just out of high school. Doesn't know much. She's untried. She just doesn't know anything. And
Right.
she, those youngsters, I'm 54. I can say that.
I agree with you.
uh,
I'm 60, so I'm right up there with you. We're the same generation here.
they, I know but these young kids, they just think they're invincible. They just have that, and I remember that. I feel like a 54-year-old body with a 20-year-old mind sometimes. Um, but they just don't think anything can touch them.
They think they're immortal.
Hmm.
And, I do think in my group and on my author page, I do a throwback Thursday, on Thursdays. And I just love reminiscing on things that we no longer have. I
Right.
love Throwback Thursday. And I often go around this house if something pisses me off. I'm going to say it. I said, take me back to the 80s. It wasn't like this 20 years, 30 years ago. Take me back. I want to go back. And I watch the old TV shows, Leave It to Beaver, the Anna Griffith Show, because I'm sorry, but back then the world makes sense. It did. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but it did. And
Well,
I'm not going to get into, a political conversation with you. We both know what we're trying to say, but
right.
it's just not the same.
It is not.
It is not the same. And
On
I
a
worry about, I'm sorry, I didn't
No.
interrupt you. Real quick, I worry about my kids because I won't be around in 30, 40 years. What's it going to be like for them?
Yeah. I think about that all the time with my grandkids. I'm just like, my oldest daughter, she's 31. I didn't think she was going to have kids. I just really thought that was going to pass her by. But she is going to have a little girl. And, I have two grandsons, and, they're boys. They're rough and tough.
Mine too.
That's one thing. But, I do wonder what it's going to be like for them in about, even 10 years down the road, what that's going to look like.
It's just changing drastically so fast. And I don't think for the good. I don't. I really don't. I do want to hold this up. It's a small picture. I was hoping I could get a bigger one, but so people get an idea of your cover. Wait a minute. Let me get in there. I can't see. Can we see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the cover of Asylum. I love your covers. Now, are you self-published or are you through a publisher?
William Bernhardt publishes my books through Babylon Books. Yeah.
And
he does a great job.
I'm sorry?
He does a great job.
He does. I love this. Did you have any input on what you wanted on the cover?
Well, he asked me on the first one, and I really didn't, being a brand new author, I just had no clue what to do. So he picked that out. The second one, I was a little bit more involved with it, but he still, he's got great intuition. He knows what the book market's doing. He knows, so I just kind of leave it to his expertise. Yeah. I learn from him all the time.
And so I love the font that he chose. I mean, the font for the cover is just perfect. It's just perfect for the book. Did you start writing this book during the lockdown of COVID?
I finished it during the lockdown of COVID. Yeah, that my first book, Asylum, was really a writing journey for me, all on its own. Because, like I said, I started thinking about it in 2011. I started writing the first draft in 2012, and I didn't really like it. It didn't click with me what I wanted. And so I kind of put it aside. I went back to school, got my degree in English, and then picked it back up and started working on it again. So it took me, several years to finally get it. I learned how to write during that time. So.
And book 2 is called the Ascendant. It's book 2. When you finished the Asylum, or even when you started, did you plan on writing a series, or it just unfolded as you're writing Asylum?
I finished Asylum, and the ending is left that way on purpose. I didn't wrap everything up in a tight little bow. I mean, it was, most of the stuff got resolved and stuff, but I wanted the reader to make up their own mind what happened to them, because
interesting.
At the end of the book, they decided, well, they had two choices. They could either play her uncle's political game, or they could run, and they decided to run. And so I just thought, well, the readers can use their own imagination and decide, do they end up on a beach in Mexico, or do they get caught, that kind of thing. But then some of the readers was asking, well, what happened? You can't leave us like this. And then Bill always says that series usually sell better than singles. And so I started entertaining the idea of a second book. And so I was just like, well, what would that look like? And so that just kind of went from there. It didn't take me near as long. It took me about a year.
Yeah. And with Ascendant, I'm going to put the cover up in a minute. Are the same characters in book 1 as in book 2? Do they continue on? They continue on. And you said there's going to be a book 3. Same characters?
Yes. Some new characters are introduced in book 2 that carry on also in book 3 as well.
And I'm sorry, is there going to be more after book 3? I'm jumping way ahead now.
I left a little window open for me, and I have an idea for a 4th book, but I am going to start working on, I'm going to put this down for a little bit and working on something else.
Okay, this is, I'm going to try and put this up. I did put this one on the graphic. This is your latest book, Ascendant. You can see that. Susie doesn't have the books with her. She's actually out of town on a business trip. So I kind of took her by surprise, asking her if she had her books with her. She's out of town. So that was my fault. She would have brought them with her. But with Ascendant, are you able to give us just a little background of that without, of course, giving anything away or anything that happens in book 1? And then I'm going to come to these comments. We have a lot of comments and questions. I'm going to jump on.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, that excites me. Okay. In book 2, well, like I said, at the ending, they decided to run. Book 2, just right off the bat, right after they decided to run, her uncle catches up to him and separates them, and she ends up in Mexico City, delivering a payment for her uncle. He's trying to secure an army so he can take over the United States, so he can set things right the way he thinks it should be done. And so she ends up kidnapped because this guy that he's dealing with is a sex trafficker. He's a human trafficker. He deals in drugs and humans. That's his MO. And so she ends up there, and it's all about how they escape and they work back to each other and work through those hard issues. And like I said, a couple of more characters are introduced. Her brother, AJ, is introduced in book 2, which I adore. I just love AJ. And also a secondary character from book 1 shows up in book 2, and he becomes more of a main character, which was you're not, I don't know if authors are supposed to say this, but it was kind of a surprise to me how much I actually really ended up liking this character. So he and he carries over into book 3 as well.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now, when you're writing your books, do you plot your books, or you're a pantster and you just let the characters take the lead?
I am a hybrid.
Oh, okay. So you kind of
I do.
let them
I have an
do it.
outline. I do have an outline. An outline serves a purpose, and it's very useful tool. So I do outline. Do I stay with my outline? Absolutely not. It inevitably changes, you know. But at least I have an idea of a roadmap of
Right.
where
Okay.
I'm starting and where I want to end up. The things that happen in between, yeah, they change a little bit from one chapter to another. You know, I may have forgotten what I wrote in the outline. If something better comes along, you know, it just
Go with it.
so I'm a little of both, honestly.
You're a hybrid, definitely. All right, I'm gonna jump on to some of these questions. We have some great questions that I keep seeing pop up. So let's take a few minutes and get some of these questions answered. Here's one from, I'm sorry if I pronounce your name wrong, Sheng. Can the books be read as a standalone, or do they need to be read in order?
You can read them. You can read Ascendant if you want to first. I suggest you read them in order, just because it'll make more sense, and you won't have to feel like you're playing catch up in book 2. But I do give enough information in book 2 that you're not absolutely and totally lost.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Karen is asking, what inspires you to write?
I don't know that I'm inspired as much as I'm driven. And I don't know if this is a good thing to say either. My writing is tied to my mental health. I feel better when I write. And so as far as inspiration goes, I can walk down a street and see an old man sitting on a park bench and make up a whole life story, you know, his whole backstory, you know, which is, you know, completely false. But so I think I can't really answer what inspires me to write, other than I'm more driven to write than I am.
Do you find it therapeutic?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is. It is very, it's very therapeutic. I write in the morning. I get up in the morning. I get up every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I write before I go to work. I dedicate time to do this before I go to work, because if I don't, I find that my life doesn't allow me during the day, the waking hours. Everybody else's waking hours doesn't allow me to write. So I have to carve out that time in the morning, and it's just better for me. I'm a better person
for it. And I love the fact that you discipline yourself to do that, because it is therapeutic to you. So you start the day off, you know, doing something that makes you feel good.
Yep.
What a great way to start the day.
Yeah, it is.
I do. Connie, excuse me, is asking, when did you start writing?
Well, when I was 16 years old, I was like, well, man, it'd be so cool to write a book. I was reading anything from like Madeleine L'Engle to Jeanette Oak. I don't know if anybody has been a Christian reader before. She had a series, the Love Comes Softly series, and I was really into that. And I like historical fiction as well. I like old westerns and stuff like that. And I was like, I can write that. I can do that. No, but I did start then. And when I was 19, I had another idea for a book, and I wrote it. It's, I don't even know where that is. I don't know if that's still in my drawer or not. But they always say you don't publish the first book that you write. You don't, normally you don't. And so I went through that process again in my late 20s. I had kids. I had, life gets in the way.
Yeah.
And I didn't always realize that writing was tied to how I felt or would help me navigate things better. So I had some gaps there, but I did start when I was 16. I hope that answered your question. I just went
That's a great age. You also write some poetry. Have you published any of your poetry, or is that more of just expressing yourself?
That's more. I have some on my website. I have some poetry on my website. That's more of a different type of outlet. My poetry is not, I don't do nature or pastoral. I'm more of I feel a certain way, so I have to get it down in a different way than I do with my fiction. And so that comes and goes. The inspiration for that just comes and goes.
I love that. I mean, I could not write a poem if I tried. I couldn't. So I admire that one for you. And your website, I did put it up in the speech. It's in the text. It's susysmith.com, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure we have that right. And then Leisha has a question. She is asking, who has been your hardest character to write about, and why was that?
Honestly, the hardest character for me to write was probably the senator, Lacey's uncle, because he's a bad guy. But I kind of wanted to make him a little, a really good bad guy has some good qualities. You can't just,
True.
I have a bad guy in there, and that's the drug lord, and that just came. I didn't have a problem writing that. Giving a bad guy some good qualities and kind of making him likable, but in a bad kind of, you know what I'm trying to say? That's difficult. That's still something that I'm learning. So yeah, he was the hard.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. All right. And then let me see. Karen, does your family read your books? Gonna laugh for that one.
Yes. I'll start out by saying my great uncle, he was 90. Forgive me, Uncle David, if I overshoot your age. I believe he's 95. Him and his wife read my books, and they're constantly on me. When's the next one coming? When's the next one coming? Oh, nice. Which I find absolutely inspiring. That alone is just absolutely amazing to me. My mother, she's never been a reader, which I don't understand, because her mother, my grandmother, is the one who kind of helped instill that love of writing. She'd take me to the bookstore. She promoted that. She nurtured that in me. But she's never been a writer or a reader, but she does her best. And so she does. What I was laughing at was my kids.
Okay.
My kids. My oldest daughter, she's just like, Mom, I just can't believe you're writing stuff like that. Not that anything bad is going on in there, but I did throw romance in there, not X-rated or the erotica kind, just general, romance. And she's like, I just can't believe you wrote that. And then I have my youngest daughter who read it, and she did a TikTok video of it, laughing at something I said. And so I got to. It's been an interesting journey to watch my kids decide if they're going to read what I write or not.
Yeah, there you go. I like it though. Tina's asking, who are some authors that inspire you?
Um, as an adult, I absolutely adore Ted Decker. And he is, I think you'll find him also in the Christian genre, but he writes a lot like Stephen King. So he has inspired me. J.D. Salinger. I absolutely loved Catcher in the Rye. I just got finished reading that with my youngest daughter. She'd never read it before. She didn't catch it in high school, so I said that's a really good one to read. And so we kind of read it together. I'd already read it, a couple of times, but I read it again. And so I don't know. I can't remember what the question was. Honestly,
I'm sorry, what was that?
I got on a tangent there, and I kind of lost my train of thought.
Oh no! It's a great answer. I love your answer. Back in the day, I loved Stephen King, but I've lost track of how many books he's written. Do you still read his books?
I have a shelf full of his books. He his writing is so interesting, and I do think he lives and dies by the no adverb mantra, because he's for me, he's a little wordy. I'm not. I'm kind of a minimalist. I'll say, if I can say it in one word instead of five, I'm gonna say that. So, but yeah, I do. I've got a whole shelf full of his books. So,
we talk about at the beginning of our chat, and of course your books, is how the world is changing, and I'm sure your book, there's some dark areas in the books. Do your books? How would you compare your book to the Hunger Games or Divergent?
They're both dystopia in that some part of civilization has deteriorated, has collapsed, and it is no longer what we consider normal. Mm-hmm. So it is comparable in that way. Mine is a little bit more realistic than the Hunger Games. I don't have any fantastical things going on like they do in the Capitol. I don't have people with pink hair, and I love Elizabeth Banks. Do not get me wrong. Absolutely adore that actress. I think she just nailed Effie. But it's a little bit more realistic. It's a little bit more kind of down to earth. I love Divergent also. So it leans more towards how Divergent is kind of set up than the Hunger Games. But
okay, and I'm looking at some of my notes, and you found inspiration in The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Can I ask how?
Well, I loved the backdrop, the setup.
Okay.
The long line of cars that you see on the highway that are just deserted. I wanted that. I wanted that feel to come through in my books, because that's how I envisioned it. Was just everything has been abandoned because the people aren't there. They've been hauled off to work camps. They're the government's in control. It's a very strict environment that they live in. And that's how it inspired me. I just love The Walking Dead and how their scenes are set up and stuff. It's fascinating.
Your book sounds very intriguing with all these related movies and books. Very intriguing. I do want to read the blurb to book one. Let me find my page. Sorry. The Asylum. So I'm going to read the blurb so readers have an idea, even though you're giving us some great insight into the book already. Okay, this is the blurb on the book. So here we go. In the aftermath of the big crash, the President of the United States declares martial law. The National Guard rounds up citizens who are never heard from again. Wow. I'm already like, whoa. Okay. While fear and chaos reign, a small band of revolutionaries rise up to resist. Lacey Monroe, barely out of high school, never saw herself as a leader. All that changed after the big crash. When the rest of her family fled, she remained on the farm, the last piece of land in the state holding out against the hostile government. Alone and vulnerable, she endures a horrific attack, yet survives and offers sanctuary to others like herself, until an old friend turns her world upside down. Jace Cooper has harbored a secret for years. He is completely in love with his best friend's sister. The world is crumbling around them. No one knows how long they will survive, and all he wants is to protect Lacey and stay with her. With the National Guard circling ever closer, hunger and sickness taking a toll, and betrayal and jealousy threatening to destroy the group from the inside, the struggle to hold onto the farm pushes them to the brink. And Lacey is keeping a secret so devastating it could drive Jace to unthinkable actions. Is the farm a safe asylum? Or will the fight for freedom destroy them? Woo! Very. Got me intrigued. I want to ask you about your, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go back to my notes real quick. Your connection with the Kanza Tribe?
Yeah.
I believe that you are a curriculum specialist.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just give us some little insight on what that involves and why you're involved?
I am Ka and Osage. I'm on the Ka roll. And after I got my English degree, I, kind of wanted to branch out and do something with it. And so I was hired on as the language assistant. And I started there, and I just kind of worked up to doing the curriculum for all of the classes that my boss, and we've got to hire another teacher. So they both teach, and I generally now stay back and do all the curriculum. I'm also more of an administrator. I just kind of keep the office going and stuff.
Wow.
I'm more of a behind the scenes kind of gal. But we are we teach in the Newkirk schools, and we teach in Scheidler schools. We also have an after school program. And that is why I'm here in Norman, Oklahoma at the Sam Noble Museum. It is the 2024 Oklahoma Native American Youth Language Fair. Long title. But our students are down here competing, and they all placed today. The older kids are gonna compete tomorrow. Our younger kids, age preschool through 5th, they competed today. We had a bunch of first place winners. We had some second and a few third. So yeah, they all placed. They all went home with something. So that just that reinforces the idea that their hard work, has paid off.
The hard work paid off. Well, congratulations to all of them and you.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Such a great job.
That is fantastic. All right. I'm going to pop back onto some more questions and some comments. We got sounds like an interesting book.
Good.
Karen wants to know, what other genres do you read?
Oh, man. Why'd you have to ask that? I'm just teasing. I am huge fantasy books. Sarah J. Maas, just to name one, but I'll read any kind of fantasy book, well written or not. I'm there. It's very takes my mind off of things. I love to be immersed in a world where it's where I can look at a different world from, so the fantasies really do that. Shifter series, I read those. So yeah, you caught me. I love that genre, but I'll read romance. I'll read sci-fi. I'll read historical fiction. I love historical fiction.
Me too.
I I can pick up generally just about any kind of book. I have a harder time with nonfiction than fiction because but I think that's because of my intent. If I'm not sitting down to learn something, I want to be entertained. I want my mind taken off of something that's, life, you know what I mean?
Right.
So
Do you
yeah.
do you think you'll always write dystopian, or do you think you'll try another genre?
I'll stay in the science
Yeah.
fiction genre. I think the series that I want to start working on is going to be paranormal. So
Oh,
it'll shift a little bit, but I'll stay in. Um, I don't foresee going outside of the science fiction genre. Uh, my mind just won't go anywhere else. I'd love to write historical fiction. I would just absolutely love it. I just don't see myself
I
doing.
say that a lot too. I love reading
Yeah.
historical fiction.
Hmm.
I would never write it because of the research. The research just scares me. That's why I won't write it.
I love research. I absolutely love research. But I'll start researching something and I'll find something and I'll go down these different rabbit holes, and I end up, something that should have taken me an hour. 5 hours later, I'm still, trying to research that,
Mhm.
so I kind of I get really distracted. But I love research. I don't know.
Yeah,
Famous
I,
last
I
words. Never
I
say
do
never.
enjoy the genre. It's one of my favorites, especially the World War II era. I love World War II books. Um, Tina's asking, how do you come up with your character names?
Lacey just came to me, and I don't particularly like that name. Um, that's not something I would ever name one of my kids. That just came to me. Sometimes they just pop in my head. Um, I have a real I have a problem with alliteration. I mean, I don't know if that's a problem, but names that start with the same letter, I'll get on a letter and I'll just kind of so sometimes I have placeholder names in there, and then I'll have to go back and go, okay, I need to change that name. Um, but I will say that I do look up if I want, if I know a character's Bill says characters are metaphors. So if I have a character and I know that I want it to stand for something, I will research names and
Okay.
see, well, this name means this. This name means this, and so I'll do that sometimes. But
Okay.
yeah, that's
Okay.
most of the time
Uh,
they just come to me.
right. Elaine wants to know if your books are on KU.
They're not on Kindle Unlimited. That's kind of out of my hands. I didn't publish the books, and so I'm not quite sure how all that works on Kindle. I mean, you can get a Kindle version. I'm on Amazon.
Mhm.
It's just not. The first book is only 99 cents, though, so it
Oh,
don't
there
cost
you
me.
go. There you go.
So,
That's a great deal. That's a great
mhm.
deal. And then I think we might have covered this, but I'm going to pop it up in case you want to add to it.
Okay.
When you start a book, do you just sit in front of a computer and start writing, or do you have some steps before that happens?
Yeah, I used to have to write everything down first, and I'm a big pencil snob. I use pencils. I don't really like to use pens, so I'll use pencils. My office, I have a certain kind of pencil and I have a whole, I mean, there's a whole bunch of them there. So used to, I had to take that pencil and put it down to paper because that's how my thought processes
Mm-hmm.
worked. I did not grow up in front of a computer.
Right.
I grew up in the 80s. Everything was handwritten.
Same still is.
Right. I kind of, the more that I started writing, though, I find that it's easier for me to sit down in front of the computer and start writing. And so, to answer that, it's a yes and no. I think more yes. I just sit down in front of the computer and I'll have that outline. Um, I'll have the outline pulled up. I'll go, especially when I first start a book, the first chapter, especially the first page, is the hardest page of the whole book.
Yeah.
At least for me to write. I will rewrite that first page, I swear, 120 times at least,
Yeah.
you know, just because you need to hook your reader
Yeah.
right
For
from
me,
the
it's the first paragraph. I have to
hmm
get that first, and that might change a little bit, but I can
hmm
spend hours changing, just trying to get that first
yeah,
paragraph going.
yes,
Once I have that first paragraph, or for, like, the first page, then it just starts to roll. It just
yeah,
starts to roll. Yeah.
yeah. So
And I am self-published, so I have to write my own blurb. That is the one part that my readers hear me complain about it all the time. I will leave that till, if I could, I'd leave it till the day before the book is published. I just dread writing the blurb.
I hear that that's
Do you
really
have
hard
to
for
write your
authors
own?
to do. It is hard for me to do. I do. At least I'll start it. I'll write a draft. Bill will look at it. He'll change it and send it back, and we'll kind of go back and forth like that. That is the hardest thing for me to do. I dread that.
Yeah, it's
I
mine too.
absolutely dread that.
To, to
Taglines, stuff like that. I can't do it.
Yeah,
Plus,
to condense a book, an 80,000, mostly a 50
yeah.
to 80,000 word manuscript, into 250 pages of words or less, where you got to engage the reader, want them to open up the book, want them to purchase that book, and just grab them. It's
Mhm.
tough.
Yes,
It is tough.
it is very tough.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that for me is the hardest part. The editing I leave to Lulu.
But I have
I'll
a
clean it up. She's not going to get what it is right now. My next book is what I always call my books is a hot mess after the first draft. I won't give it to her like that. I'll clean it up. But as far as the editing goes, once I've done with it, then it's like, okay, here you go. Do your magic. So the
yeah.
editing doesn't bother me too much, but that blurb gets me every time. And I'm already thinking the book I've just finished, I've got to start thinking about that. I'm like, oh, but
Yeah.
I'll get there. I'll get there. Okay, Elaine wants to know. So these books is going to be a trilogy.
Yes,
Correct?
as far as I know right now, yes.
Okay.
I can definitively say yes.
And I'm sorry, did you say you already have an idea for your next book after the trilogy? Or no?
I left myself a window where I can go back and write another one if I want to. If I want to extend it, I did, and I do have an idea. Have a good idea where I want to go with it if I decide to do that. So.
Okay, all right. I think we might have discussed this, but I'll put it up just for Karen. She might have come a little bit late. But how many books do you have published right now?
2.
You have 2
I have
books.
those 2, yeah, and I have the third one. I finished the third one. I have a little bit different writing process, maybe than you do. I think I will. I can't just the NaNoWriMo or however you say that in November. Can't do it. Cannot do it because
Okay.
I'll sit on a paragraph for an hour looking at it and trying to figure out how I can't leave it and go on. So
Oh,
I'm more of
really?
so I'm more of a fix it as you go, and I research as I go, like helicopters. I researched
Okay.
helicopters for the second book. I don't know how many videos and stuff that I watched and stuff. And then I'll send, after I'm done with a chapter, after I'm done with every chapter that I write, I will send it to my friend who does the bulk of my editing. I send it to her. She'll edit it and she'll send it back. Most of the time, if there's not, I'll read over her her suggestions and stuff. If it's not awful, I'll leave it. If it's really bad, I'll rewrite the chapter and send it back to her again. But now that I'm finished with that whole process, I will go back, or I have gone back to the beginning and pull up her edits and edit from there. And that's how after I'm done with that, I go back again and I go through and I edit. edit again. So it's a
Got a lot of steps. Yeah. See, I'm completely opposite to you. I'll just keep writing.
I wish I
And
could do.
I cannot read. Like, I started the book I just finished in September. I have not read chapter 1 since I wrote it in September. I just keep writing, because for me, if I go back before I finish the book, that's it. I'm ruined, because I will go in and start changing stuff and changing it around. So
Yeah.
I have to get to the end of the book and have the bones of the story. And then I feel okay that, okay, this is the editing time. But for me, I have to get that book written. But we do what works for us. And I will go through it 1 or 2 times. Then it goes to Lulu, my editor. She'll have it for a while. And then when it comes back to me, I will read it out loud. And that is, for me, I'm amazed how much you can pick up reading it out loud. And I didn't even start that until the last maybe 4 or 5 books.
Yeah, I agree that reading out loud to yourself, how does this sound? You don't really know. It sounds one way in your head, but it might not sound that way when you say it out loud.
Exactly. So, and if I pause in a sentence, something caused me to pause. What was it? Because it should just flow when I'm reading it, especially out loud. So I look for that break. Why did I stop? Was it a word I couldn't pronounce? Whatever. So I love reading it out loud. I really do. Let me see. Oh, thank you, Karen. I'm going to pop that up. I like that. Tina, you do a great job on the blurbs. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm not going to pass up a compliment when I see one.
Right.
Tina saying, this has been a wonderful live, but I have to leave early. Have a wonderful night. Thank you, Tina, for being here. You are still entered in the giveaway, Tina, because you have been here most of the time. Jacqueline's asking, while working on a book, do you already have an idea for the ending?
Yes. That's what that outline is for. I have to know where I'm going, because if I don't know where I'm going, it's just going to go nowhere. So I have to be working towards an end. Now, the specifics of the ending, like I might have a couple of different ways I could end it that I haven't decided on, but I know the general direction of where I want to be when I end up. So yeah.
Okay. Has it ever completely changed?
This last one, I was really debating on how to end it, and I'm really satisfied the way I ended up doing it. But yeah, there for a while, I just kind of I was kind of on the fence about. There was a couple of different ways that I could end it, so I really didn't know until I got there.
End. With my books, I have no idea how it's going to end, and I kind of like that. And I tried guiding a book or leading the book over my characters, and it was a disaster. So it's like, okay, now I'm not going to do that anymore. And back to the writing the blurbs, Cassandra agrees with us. She says the blurbs usually come last for me. They can be tortured to write, and I agree. And someone in our group is asking, do your characters talk to you?
That's funny. I don't know how to answer that, because if I say yes, people might think I'm crazy. But
no, they talk to me all the time. They're not crazy.
I describe them as little people inside my head that I have to get down on paper. So they live inside my brain, and the only way that I can get a release for them out of my head is if I put them on paper. So I don't actually hear their voices, but yeah, they form in my mind and they live there. Yeah. So in a sense, yes, they do talk to me.
I'm with you 100%. My Sabella series, I was writing it for 4 years. For 4 years, these people are in my head.
For real. I know.
It's like, good God, I'm going to end this series.
Right. That's kind of why I'm kind of ready to lay Lacey down for a while. She's been in my brain since 2012. And so that's kind of a long time. So
yeah, they can be very demanding at times. I'll be busy or something and doing whatever, not writing. And I will hear them in my head about what's going to happen in the next chapter.
Yeah.
And I really do have to stop and write down some notes on my phone. Now I do it on my phone and email it to myself. But if I don't, I'm afraid they're not going to tell me again.
Right. You'll lose it.
Yeah, and they are like real people. They
I'm
really
kind
are.
of more of I see snapshots in my head. I'm more of I see a scene inside my head. So that's kind of how, but yeah, I totally agree. If you don't write it down, it's going to be lost.
They won't tell you again. They only give you one chance. Renee's asking, have you ever had to go back and change a major part of a book when you're almost finished? Oh, that would be terrible. Have you?
Asylum, my first book. I told you that I wrote the first draft. The book that you'll read today is absolutely nothing like what I had before. So yes, I wrote the whole thing, and it takes a lot of I don't know if I'm a perseverance maybe, or gumption, or drive to go back and completely tear that apart and fix, especially after you're at the end, to fix the things that are wrong with it. But yes, I did that. That's why I say that I learned to write when I was writing Asylum. Because it was trial and error, and hopefully I've gotten better as a writer since I've written that. So that's my hope anyway.
Wow. Oh yeah, I'm sure. We learn as we go. We do as we go. Couple more questions, and we're going to wrap it. This has been a fantastic chat, by the way. Elaine's asking, do you have a release date for book 3?
I don't have a release date, but I know how long it takes me to get things finished to where I send it off to Bill, my publisher, my editor. He'll have his people edit it, and then it comes back to me, and I make those changes and send them back, and then they go back through it. So it's kind of a process. But I would say tentatively, Ascendant was published in August of last year. I hope that I hit that August date again.
Okay, of this year.
I hope so. If not August, maybe a couple of months after that. So.
Okay. Well, this has been a fabulous chat. And we have to have you back when book 3 comes out. Do you have a title for book 3 yet? Is there a title?
Oh gosh, talk about writing blurbs. I swear. Titles, I thought that book 2 was going to be called Leverage, but Bill didn't like that, which, I get it. If you want to sell a book, it's got to have a catchy, the title is just, it's got to catch the reader and stuff. So no, I don't.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'll have to wait and find out that what it is, but I have one final question for you. Okay. And then we're going to talk about the giveaway real quick. But the final question is, what advice can you give to other writers that are inspired by what we do and, they want to be published?
Don't give up. That it has been, I don't know if anybody's heard the mantra, steady Eddie wins the race. That always goes through my head for some weird reason. But you gotta it's not a instant thing. If you're looking for instant gratification, it's just not, unfortunately, not like that. But if you don't give up and you keep going and you keep at it, you'll have a finished product. And then the next phase, starts where you're like, what do I do with it? And so then you enter into that phase. But just don't give up. That's
brilliant advice.
What helped me is just not giving up.
Yeah, and one day goes, I wrote the book, now I gotta market it. What?
Yeah.
That's the hardest part.
Talking like this is one thing. If you come up to me face to face and and ask me, what's your book about? I will literally stare at you. And if I have a book handy, I will hand it to you and say, read the cover.
There you go. Read the blurb. I spent hours on the blurb.
Brain freeze. It's that I'm an introvert by nature, and so I'm a closed off kind of person. I don't share things very easily, so that's another thing that I'm trying to get over.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of writers are. We just want to be alone and write our books, write our stories. And my father is an author. In fact, he's a science fiction author. And he wrote in the 70s and 80s on a typewriter.
Sweet.
And he didn't have to do live chats and ebooks and podcasts and all this other stuff, And I say to myself, he had it easy, but no, because if I had to write a book on a typewriter, oh my God. So, so anyways, but Susy, can you just real quick tell us, our readers, what you're giving away?
Am I giving away a copy of Ascendant or Asylum? I think
That's
Ascendant.
Up to you.
It's up to me. Okay, so what I'll do then is I will give away an e-copy of Asylum, the first book, and I will also give away either an e-version or a hard copy of Ascendant.
When you say hard copy, do you mean paperback?
Paperback. Mm-hmm.
Paperback of Ascendant. So let me get this straight. There's one ebook, so that's one giveaway. Mm-hmm. And then another giveaway is a choice of an ebook or paperback of Ascendant. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And these are US only, because overseas is just crazy as far as shipping goes. The ebook, though, can be overseas, correct?
Mm-hmm. I think so. I mean, I don't know.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. You can send you can send it through Book Fund. There's a lot of ways you can send it, and I'm sure Shirley will know. But so the other giveaway is the one I do all the time on this chat, and that is a $5 Amazon gift card. And most of you know how this works. You need to go over to my author page and share this video, share it to your favorite groups on your own personal page, wherever you want to share it. But do tag me so I know that you shared it, and you will be entered into the $5 Amazon gift card. And that will be announced in my group and on my author page, along with Susy's giveaways, in about an hour plus, because I got to feed doggies.
Yes.
Gotta feed my doggies. But Susy, thank you so much for joining me. And like I said, when book 3 comes out, I'd love to have you back.
I would love to be back. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much.
You are welcome. You enjoy the rest of your night and enjoy your trip. Have safe travels home.
Thank you.
And readers, thank you so much for joining me. And I will see you in the group. Good night, everybody.